Welcome back, everybody, to the Marketing Rules podcast. It is my pleasure to welcome on board today Peter Guirguis. Peter, for our UK audience, maybe not necessarily for our US audience, but for our UK audience specifically, can you give us a bit of background about yourself and what you do today?
Yeah, absolutely, James. For me, my business, we build websites and apps for small business owners that don't break the bank. So we realized quite a while ago that the small business owners have a need for websites and apps for their business, but unfortunately, the marketplace doesn't really cater to them because most other businesses that do create those kind of things for other businesses are quite expensive. So we entered the marketplace, and we currently do that. And I've had the privilege of doing that for about 14 years, and it's been quite a crazy ride. And I'd love to share a little bit about what I've learned from my journey and with the audience, and just about all things marketing. And I know we're going to talk about some AI stuff today.
Yeah. Where did you kind of start? What was your kind of background before you got into kind of app design and app development?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started first when quite a number of years ago in 2010 when I first got married, and my background is in IT, so
Yeah.
I have a strong computer background. And when I got married, believe it or not, actually my wife, there were some people that didn't attend from her family, so she's like, "Hey, honey, can you create a website and we can put these photos up on the wedding website?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "I don't know how to create a website," so I started to dabble in it, and I created the first website, which was absolutely ugly. It was the most hideous thing I've ever created in my life until now. I hope that nobody's ever sees it and attributes it to me, but I did find it to be quite enjoyable, and so I went down the rabbit hole and looked into different platforms. At the time, Drupal was very common. Joomla and WordPress also was up and coming. And so I went down that road and discovered different things. And I ended up kind of being a specialist on WordPress websites. And today, WordPress is the most popular website building platform of all time with a 42% market share. So that's kind of a little bit more about my journey and how I came to do what I do today.
Yeah. And it's interesting you kind of talk about WordPress and its kind of dominance. And I know that a lot of our listeners will be kind of interested because they'll be built on the WordPress platform. The ThinkinCircles website and is built on a WordPress platform. And we're going to talk a little bit around kind of that and AI and how where this is all going and how to make the most of AI tools on your kind of website. So let's start right at the beginning. What are the kind of things that you would initially be looking at as kind of some like low barrier to entry AI tools that someone could use on their website, from today, right? What they could kind of implement.
Yeah, I think the very big starting point, low barrier to entry, and then we can talk about some other things as
Mhm.
well, would be definitely getting a subscription to, I think, what are probably going to be the one of the top three AI tools, and that's going to be, in my opinion, the top three AI tools at the moment are going to be ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude 3. And those are probably going to be the three big players in there. And you know what? There's really at the moment, there's really no best one where there's like an all rounder. It's like, oh, this is the best. ChatGPT is the best. And really, when you dabble in all three of these, then you're able to go and find out, hey, what is the best AI tool for the use case? And there are third-party tools out there that basically they integrate with all those different AIs that I just mentioned. So you
Mhm.
can just go to that one tool, and then after that, choose, hey, who do you want to chat with? Which AI tool do you want? Do you want to use Claude 3? Do you want to use ChatGPT? Do you want to use Google Gemini? And one popular plugin that I've been using, it's a Chrome extension, a Safari extension. It's basically on every single browser. It's a plugin called Cider AI. That's with an S, Sider AI. So I do recommend our audience to check it out. You'd be able to do many cool things from chatting with the different AIs for any kind of use case that you need. And additionally, it has a really cool advantages to when you watch YouTube videos, and you can summarize videos and kind of help you with that. And of course, you can use it also for your website to
Mhm.
help you with landing pages and copy and all sorts of things. And you can compare and contrast, the answers from the different AIs. So I would highly recommend that at least they try out
Oh, that's
that.
amazing. That's a great tip. Thank you. Um, and what are some of the things that obviously, when most people think of kind of website integrations and AI, you probably immediately think of a chatbot of some kind, right? That's something that pops up in a corner that you can kind of have a conversation with, and that can give you, I don't know, information about products and services and guide you around and point you in the right direction. But that seems the kind of almost the obvious thing, right? There must be other things that you can use AI for on your website that can make it more effective, make it just a better site, make it more productive, make it more effective, et cetera, et cetera. So what are those other kind of things that should be considering AI for on our website?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that people don't know that they could use for AI is their photos, their imagery on their on a WordPress website or any other website. Actually, a lot of tools will integrate with AI, even if you're using other tools besides WordPress. So definitely, you want to take a look at hey, creating those images, and there is an art to it at the moment, because it isn't the art of creating a prompt. When you
Hmm.
put in the prompt, you can get like different styles of photos, different looks, but it's very amazing. Like if you wanted to, for example, you're in maybe the financial industry and you want to create a website, about your the services that you offer. You could definitely go in there and do a prompt and say, hey, create an image for me that shows a person looking at their laptop and with a calculator on their desk, and they're smiling. And it'll do it for you, and it looks absolutely stunning, actually, even better than what you could probably do yourself, or even if you were to hire a pretty good designer, maybe on Fiverr or one of those websites. So it is amazing what AI could do. So I would highly recommend that you play around with images and try that out. And of course, for the actual text for the page, and coming up with ideas for, hey, what is the best text, and how do you create the best layout for the homepage, for the about page? Because a lot of times when people are creating websites, they kind of get stuck with a blank page, and they're like, oh wow, what do I say, or what do I do? And now you don't have to. You can just ask around and get output from the AI tools that you want to use as to what is the best kind of layout and the best text to use for the different pages of your website.
Is there potentially an inherent problem with kind of working that way? That do you start to kind of standardize everything though? Because AI only can kind of AIs only work off what they can work off, right? The data that's kind of there's at their resource. So, do you think that comes potentially at the expense of kind of creativity potentially, or does it just does the AI kind of have that all built in and it understands that it's been asked this a billion times, so it's going to not necessarily always give you the same thing over and over and over again?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question, James, and I think that really is great and shows you your understanding also of AI. So with AI, really, it's just going to depend on so many different things. There's a lot of different variables. Some of these variables are going to be, hey, what niche are you in, and then what did you put in your prompt? So depending on what you put on your prompt, that's going to definitely affect the output. So for example, let's say you have somebody that you really enjoy listening to, that's a famous person. Let's just say it's like Margaret Thatcher. Okay, so you can say, hey,
We've
you know
just
what?
lost half our audience, I think, at that point.
Oh, no. Okay, I repent. Anybody, let's say
Yeah,
whoever it is,
yeah.
somebody that's famous, and then you can just put them like, hey, write in the tone of such and such a person. So, for example, somebody that I like to emulate is a copywriter by the name of Gary Halbert. He's a very famous copywriter, and his copy did really fantastically well. It sold lots of different things, and he's known for just being kind of like edgy. So whenever I do a prompt and I want something like salesy, I'll put in, hey, write in the tone of Gary Halbert. And because the AI models have been trained on his stuff, they'll come up and they'll take whatever it is that I did, and they'll give me that output, and it makes a twist on it. Now, the world is your oyster. Put in anybody's name in there that you want to sound like, and you can. Also, you can train it on your own tone. So you can upload some, Microsoft Word documents, some Google Docs that you have, and the AI tool can learn what you sound like, and basically it can sound like you. So really, there's just so many different ways that you can kind of slice it so that you can sound authentic and or sound like somebody else at the same time. And
Yeah.
you can also mix tones. So you could say, hey, sound like Gary Halbert and somebody else, Tony Robbins, or whoever it is that you enjoy, put together, and now you have something new. So there's really different ways to mix and match and to come up with unique things for your copy.
Yeah, no, I'd never thought of that about kind of using someone that you respect and you kind of follow as being using them as your tone of voice. Let's jump into kind of some of the specifics around landing pages, right? As marketeers, we're always going on about landing pages and directing people to land on certain pages. And I know you've got some kind of thoughts around how AI can kind of influence the way that kind of landing pages kind of are created or operated, can be made more efficient. So, yeah, tell us a little bit around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, being a marketer yourself, James, I'm sure you can appreciate this, is that, a lot of times you have to do with, doing like CRO, which is going to be, the conversion optimization. And so with conversion rate optimizations, really AI is such a wonderful tool to be able to do that, where you can basically do A/B testing. And that's how I recommend that you definitely work on landing pages and test out your landing pages. Do set up an A/B test where you maybe probably the single most important thing is on a landing page is going to be at the very top. It's going to be your headline. So test out different headlines, and send traffic to them in equal amounts and see, hey, which headline performs better. After you do that, then you could look into, hey, which images are performing better, creating also them in AI. So really doing A/B testing on landing pages, I think, is a wonderful place to test out. It does take a little bit of more work and more time, but it is very beneficial because you know what, the winning test, the control, if you will, is can really make a huge difference, of thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars in your campaigns. So I would definitely recommend that, and also recommend looking into, hey, layouts. Like what's the best structure. And sometimes in copywriting, some people like to use the ADA structure, which is a copywriting formula. Maybe
Yep.
some of our listeners are familiar with it. If not, you can always Google it or chat GPT it or look it up. ADA is one, PAS, problem, agitate, solution is another one. So which one of these is going to create the best conversions for that landing page, I think, is also something that is worthwhile to play around with.
Yeah. And would you do all this through WordPress, as a kind of a WordPress expert yourself, or are there other tools that you would kind of suggest that you can kind of do the A/B testing? And I know we've probably got listeners who are using HubSpot as their CRM and their website provider, and I know that you can do that kind of thing in there. So, I mean, is this something that's pretty simple to do in WordPress?
Yes, it is. It just depends on what tool you're using and what theme are you using or what framework, So it just depends on what you're doing. But for me, I don't like to use just one tool because I feel like it just kind of like boxes you in. So I like to take a prompt, for example, and I'll put it through the different tools. So I'll take one prompt that I created for maybe creating the text and the layout for a homepage for one of my clients, and I'll put it into a ChatGPT first. I can copy and paste the exact same prompt and put it into Google Gemini, and then get a different output, and then do it the same thing for Claude. Then I'll compare all three. And believe it or not, if you give the same output and you open up a new session in any one of those tools and you copy and paste exactly the same prompt, you actually will get different output.
Okay.
So it does change it a bit, although it sounds a little bit similar. So it is fascinating. So that's the way I would do it. And then I'd say, hey, which one do I like the best? And I'd roll with that.
And what are the other things that we should be considering when kind of creating these landing pages for our campaigns? Not just necessarily you've mentioned the kind of A/B testing and the use of kind of AI for some of the kind of copywriting. What are the other things that are going to supercharge our kind of landing pages and increase those conversions?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can also play around, I think, with colors, which I think is very important. There is a psychology of colors when it comes to website design. So definitely look up that, like, what do the different colors means. So colors can be definitely something interesting to play with. So also, I would say, your offer.
Hmm.
And I think the offer is probably one of the biggest pain points for marketers and businesses, because they'll send traffic to a web page and they'll pay a lot of money for, the traffic and advertising and creating this beautiful page, and then come to find out, that their sales really are kind of lackluster. Well, why is that? Well, you didn't have an amazing offer or a good offer. And so putting your offer through ChatGPT, by knowing kind of how to create and engineer a prompt, can give you good feedback. This pinpoint whether the offer really is a problem that you need to solve for. So definitely that would be one of the main things that I would suggest looking into.
And I guess once you've kind of got that right, then it comes down to your call to action, right? Because that's, we always talk around, marketers are always talking about calls to action on whatever we do. And is there any advice, any wrong way, anything we shouldn't be doing when it comes to kind of our calls to action on our landing pages?
Yeah, you know what? This is an interesting topic, James. I'd love to get your feedback too on like, well, what are good call to actions? You know, is like buy now a call to action, contact us a call to action, call now a good call to action. And some people are like, oh yeah, those are great. You know, other people are like, oh no, people don't want to call you. They still haven't built trust, with you yet. So therefore, you really need to warm them up and for them to get to know you first. So I think there's different schools of thought in this area. So, what are your thoughts about that, if I may ask?
I mean, I think it depends on what that offer is and what your services are and what the product is you're kind of selling, right? If it's something that is easily kind of, if it is something that is just a buy now, right? Then why wouldn't you kind of go with that? But I agree, a lot of marketing now is around kind of warming up your audience and not kind of giving a hard sell because nobody really wants that. So I think there's several kind of schools of thought. I'm of just let's kind of stay in contact somehow, kind of give us your details and you'd be very blunt and transparent and open. It's like, we're not going to spam you, basically. We know this is just a sign of interest, and maybe you want to join the newsletter so we can kind of keep you in contact with any other offers that we've kind of got at the minute, that kind of thing. And I know a lot of the people listening are they're in the kind of recruitment and staffing space. And so these kind of call to actions might be apply today or something like that, where there's no other option in those kind of say, if this is like a high value role or difficult to fill role that you want people to apply for, then there is only really one call to action, which is apply now and give us your details, basically, because that's what I think. One of the interesting things, and again, this may be something you have an opinion on, is the amount of calls to action you might have on a landing page. Is there a density that we should be aiming for? Is it just one? Is it one at the top, one at the bottom? What from your expertise and from your kind of the work you've done, is there anything that seems to works best?
Yeah, I definitely recommend having just one singular call to action. So if it's like if you're going to say buy now, then all of the call to actions should be buy now. But I think that age and that era of like hey, you send traffic to a web page and then after that somebody buys immediately without knowing you. I think that's gone.
Mm.
Definitely, I agree with your answer that you just said about warming up people so that they get to know you and hey, leave your contact details. Let's stay in touch, and then figuring out what's the best way to warm that audience. And I think audio is a great way. Video is a great way to get people to warm them up because they see the face of the person and they can see content from them. But I'm sure you've seen the statistic also as well that sees like somebody needs to see 10 pieces of content or 15 pieces of content before they buy from you. And I don't know if it's how true it is, and maybe it depends on what it is. But I think something interesting to touch upon too is your pricing point. So, for example, if you're selling something for £19, it's going to be quite an easier sell. Somebody doesn't need to be convinced if it's something they're willing to maybe take a risk. Even if they don't know you that well. Okay, I'm going to buy this product for £19. Let's say it's a small pocket knife or something. Okay, no big deal. No harm, no foul. But something that's maybe £1,000 or a course for £1,000, it's going to be a harder sell. Hey, do I know this person? Do I like them? Do I like their teaching style? Well, that's going to be something that you're going to have to prove over time. And that's when building that relationship is going to be even more important than something that with a lower price point.
I'll tell you what, one of my bugbears when it comes to pricing, this is completely kind of separate from our conversation about online, when it's really expensive when they don't give you the price, right? There's like contact us to know more. It's going to be expensive at that point, right? It's for the
Yeah.
enterprise version. It's going to be God knows how many thousands of pounds, and we're not prepared to tell you online how much that's actually going to cost.
Yeah, yeah, I feel 100% the same way. In fact, I feel so frustrated because then after that, it's just like, hey, apply today or contact us for, and we'll tell you the pricing or, schedule your free consultation. Well, I don't want a free consultation if it's out of my price point, because if I get on consultation, it's going to take me a half an hour phone call, for you to tell me, hey, this is, £10,000 or whatever it is that
Mhm.
you're selling. So I'd rather be to know that upfront, and then for me to make a decision. Yes, at least I'm willing to entertain the fact that, hey, I have this kind of money to spend, or not at the beginning. So I'm exactly in the same group as you.
Exactly. And one thing I think I would like to kind of touch on a little bit further away from landing pages and design and kind of marketing and branding and kind of click through rates, etc. Is it slightly unsexy kind of notions around web hosting, right? And how crucial that is with your website and how that affects your business, your kind of performance, and all those kinds of things. Because I think, again, as marketeers, we would never, we wouldn't rarely get involved with that. Some might, it's usually left up to the kind of the IT department. But it's probably one of those things that, as marketeers, we probably need to have a bit more understanding of, because it can influence one of our main selling tools, which is our website.
Yeah, 100%. And I love this question. And you're right. It is unsexy, but it is so important. And I think that's why, you brought it up, James, in our conversation today, because you do want to see our audience, to succeed in whatever endeavor they're doing. And it is very important, because, what different web hosts are basically will charge you a different amount. So the mistake that I see that, marketers will do is that they will go for the cheap hosting. It's $3.99 per month, $4.99, $5.99. These kinds of low amounts. And the problem with web hosting is that, think about it, the difference between living in an apartment and living in a home. So when you buy the cheap hosting, you basically are living in an apartment. And when you live in an apartment, you're basically subject to your neighbors. Do you have good neighbors? Are they loud? Are they noisy? Do they have a lot of parties coming over, and then therefore you're also affected by the noise? That's exactly what the cheaper hosting is. It's like basically building your website in an apartment building, and you're subject to your neighbors because you're all on one server. However, if you opt for the more expensive hosting, cloud hosting, for example, which might be more expensive, starting maybe at 19 pounds per month or 29 pounds per month, you're going to be building on your own home. And in your own house, you have basically maybe a gate where nobody can come in except if you buzz them in. And so there's the benefits of having your own privacy when you have your own server or you're doing cloud hosting. And basically, the difference between the apartment style hosting and the house style hosting is the speed and the privacy, and also the security, which is absolutely key. We're seeing so many people getting hacked, people getting viruses, malware, lots of nefarious people online that have a vested interest in bringing your website down and using it to be infected and to create bots and to basically create spam and send out messages. So really, I would say spend the extra money and get good quality hosting, because it really makes a world of difference.
Yeah, that all sounds kind of obvious stuff, right? When you kind of when it's explained like that, and there's a great analogy around the kind of the apartment and the house. Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure learning from you today around everything we need to know around kind of AI and websites and landing pages, and even the unsexy stuff around website hosting. But thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point in the future.
Oh, thank you so much, James. It was such a delight being with you. I loved hanging out with you today, and I do hope that we get a chance to do this again.